there have to be cars so that they can charge toll and take back their money. There are few cars in Africa. So with road infrastructure, essentially for several years to come, it will be more of the government getting involved in it. And because we are governments of poor countries, this is where development partners are critical to help Africa get the roads. Because when I was Minister of Foreign Affairs, we were working on the East African Road Network. We jointly set together with the World Bank, Infrastructure Department of the World Bank, where we developed this network. And then I led a delegation to Washington, talked to World Bank, to the European Union, to Brussels. I went to Japan. But one of the advice we got from that was that if you have less than 15,000 cars plying that road, then you can't. And in East Africa at that time, it was only the Mombasa-Nairobi road that had the largest number of cars, and there were only 6,000. So you can see, this is one thing that we should come out of this, and don't think that the problem is government or the last bandwidth. And then, of course, if we are ready, for example, with the railway, Rwanda, Burundi, and Tanzania, we are working on a railway from the port of Dar es Salaam to Kigali to Bujumbura. It needs about $4 billion. We are looking for partners. If Haikal is ready, come there. But Haikal is interested in the railway that is already there. So it's not an issue of if there is anybody who is ready to invest in the railway from Dar es Salaam to Kigali to Bujumbura, and later we'll extend it to the Eastern DRC, let him come forward, come and see me. We'll be in business. We'll talk to President Kagame, President Nkurunziza, and myself. We'll get a deal. Come forward. We want you to come there. So I'm saying the telecommunications, a lot of interest. Electricity is another area where we are now opening up. We want to see more investors come for electricity. We did not have that in the past. So I'm saying, and if you have to see the president in order to see things move, then something must be terribly wrong. These are matters that should be finished at the investment centers and the line ministries that are concerned. But in my case, if you come to Tanzania and you have any difficulties, please come and see me. My doors will always be open.
I'm expecting lots of people to come up at the stage at the end of the session to offer to invest with you.
Now, with regards to education, definitely we need to do more. We have to ensure that expand primary education. There is this MDG target of universal primary education by 2015. We have to invest more in building schools, train more teachers, get the textbooks, get the teaching materials, something that we need to do. We need to expand on secondary education. We need to invest more. Of course, our case, what we did with secondary school education is involve the communities. Because when we came in, we were taking 300 students in secondary school. We worked with communities. We were able to build 3,000 secondary schools, and now we have a population of 1.7 million students. The challenge has been manufacturing teachers. We expanded with university training of teachers. We are now almost getting there. We are now remaining with a shortage of 50,000 teachers, which we think in the next 2 or 3 years we'll overcome that. We have to expand on higher education. We have to build more universities, which we should. So at times it is the government, but in our case, we found with working with the communities has worked incredibly well. We have been able to expand. So, but this is another area where we also need support.
I'm going to ask if there's any other question from the floor and then call in President Condé to answer any points about either infrastructure, education, investment, regional cooperation that people want to raise, because these are the major issues that people have suggested. Yes, please. Can the mic go there? Thank you.
I come from Nicaragua, Central America, and sometimes the lessons of anti-corruption, which is a big negative incentive for investments, are not easy to apply. So as a Latin American, I would like to hear some of the African leaders give us lessons that can help attract investment and particularly avoiding corruption. That's my area of expertise, and I will be delighted to hear.
Thank you very much. President Condé, the new Africa and obviously the attack on corruption.
Je pense que, évidemment, un des grands problèmes en Afrique, c'est la corruption. C'est pourquoi nous avons décidé de faire un nouveau code minier dans la totale transparence. C'est-à-dire, il faut que les choses qui se passent en Afrique soient transparentes. Tous les contrats miniers seront publiés sur Internet et tout le monde sera au courant avec le due process. C'est-à-dire, il faut que nos partenaires sachent que nous sommes décidés désormais à mener une politique totalement ouverte, transparente, où il n'y a plus de contrats secrets et que tout le monde sera traité de la même façon et que le peuple sera associé à la détermination de la politique et suivra. Ça, c'est la meilleure façon de combattre la corruption. Mais je crois que le plus important, en parlant des chemins de fer ou autres, il faut que l'Afrique ait une politique. Si on a une politique africaine des infrastructures, le problème de nombre de voitures ne se poserait plus. Si on a une politique africaine d'énergie, le problème de savoir l'utilisation ne se poserait plus. Mais c'est pourquoi je dis qu'en dehors, c'est-à-dire il faut un minimum, un marché, pour qu'il soit à l'entente, il faut qu'il ait un minimum d'extension. Nos marchés sont trop étroits parce que nous n'avons pas été capables de définir des politiques continentales. Et je dis toujours qu'il faut étudier l'exemple des autres. Nous n'avons pas besoin de parler d'union monétaire actuellement parce que l'Europe n'a pas commencé. L'Europe, après la Première Guerre, c'était le problème du charbon et de l'acier. Ils se sont associés pour résoudre ces problèmes. Le problème aujourd'hui, c'est l'énergie, c'est les infrastructures, c'est le commerce interne. Nous devons d'abord utiliser l'Union africaine pour nous pencher sur ces questions. C'est-à-dire, tant qu'il s'agit de limiter le problème des infrastructures à quelques pays, mais si nous avons une politique africaine que nous appliquons tous, à partir de ce moment, quelqu'un qui sait que la route qui va être faite va aller de Cap à Alger, etc., il est évident que les investisseurs sont plus intéressés à venir investir. Mais je dis encore, il est extrêmement important que l'Afrique donne une nouvelle image, ce qui est différente de l'Afrique de la corruption, que les dirigeants africains donnent une autre image qui montre qu'ils sont soucieux véritablement de l'intérêt de leur population, surtout des jeunes et des femmes, et que toute leur bataille de faire en sorte que les ressources nationales qui sont importantes soient réellement développées au profit des populations, ce qui va augmenter la capacité de consommation et va encourager les investisseurs étrangers à venir. Sinon, évidemment, si nous restons enfermés dans nos frontières actuelles et que nous ne donnons pas une transparence totale à notre gestion, nous n'encourageons pas. La première chose pour lutter contre la corruption, c'est la transparence totale, le due process et la publication, l'information, qu'on puisse avoir sur Internet tous les contrats qu'on chasse, que dans un pays donné, les contrats, la meilleure clause de garantie pour un investisseur, c'est qu'il y ait la transparence et que tout se passe dans la clarté avec l'adhésion populaire.
Prime Minister Meles, do you see the possibility of these transparency requirements going right across Africa? Do you see, as President Condé does, an African energy minister, an African infrastructure minister coming out of the African Union, or is that going too quick?
Well, in terms of infrastructure policy, we actually have done a lot of the job already, the preparatory work already. We have the PIDA, this is the infrastructure program for the whole of the continent. And in that context, we also have a recent initiative by President Zuma for specific infrastructure projects, whether it's railways, pipelines, gas pipelines, roads, ports, and so on. We may need to do a little bit more. We may need to refine it, but I think most of the work has already been done. And we have the NEPAD authority, which is doing this job and is going to coordinate implementation of the continental infrastructure work. So much of the preparatory work has been done. But when it comes to infrastructure, I think what you said when you were Prime Minister of the United Kingdom in the United Nations is very important. We need a new consensus on infrastructure. The Washington consensus on infrastructure in Africa has not worked, and it will not work. The Washington consensus on infrastructure in Africa is that the public sector should not do infrastructure. It's for the private sector to do infrastructure. Some infrastructure activities can be done by the private sector, but a lot of the infrastructure work has to be done by the private sector, or else by the public sector, or else it will not be done. And it's not just roads. So what we need from our partners is loans, technological support, capacity building. And by the way, a lot of that is already happening. There are partners, particularly from Asia, the Indians and the Chinese, are investing a lot in infrastructure and through the African public sector. So we need more of that. We need to diversify that. Now, in terms of ministers of industry and agriculture and so on at the Africa level, we need to coordinate, obviously, and we need someone there to lead this coordination. But you can't will a common government for the continent into existence. It has to be a process of integration. It took more than 50 years for the Europeans to come up with a common currency, and it appears that they went a bit too fast for some of their members. So we need to learn all the lessons carefully, and we need to move carefully.
Here, President Zuma, you've got Guinea with its energy offering to be part of a coordinated energy policy in Africa. Presumably that's quite attractive.
Yeah, well, in one sense, yes, it is quite attractive. I think Prime Minister Meles has really responded to the issue. There is a lot of work going on already in the infrastructure. We have 5 regional groupings that really coordinate the regions, and the aim is to emerge to a point where we'll be able to coordinate all of these. There are a lot of reasons why you can't do it immediately. You have got it to move step by step. I think President Kikwete referred to the 3 regionals that have come together. That's part of the process that begins to move forward. Through the NEPAD, what the AU has taken a very firm decision is really to ensure that we do the infrastructure in a coordinated manner as the continent. And that is coordinated in the main through the NEPAD structures. And it has substructures that are dealing with these matters. I think we are at that stage at this point in time. But I think what we need to do is to have the kind of understanding as the countries. How do we deal with our resources as a continent? That point, I think, the president of Guinea-Conakry is absolutely correct. Can we discuss as the continent, what do we do with our huge resources? Because for centuries, we have not determined what happens to our resources. It has been other countries out of Africa that have determined this. And of course, even now, and there's a point I made at the beginning, they would not want
to leave us without influence